Fisto, which also means Fisto, which also means Jitsu. Because, like, it's my show. So, they released a new Fisto, and I got him. I got him a little while ago, and from what I can see as just looking at him, I'm happy with him. I assume I'm going to be very happy with him. But I never opened the original Fisto that my buddy got for me. And if I'm going to open Fisto, I got this like little collector's thing about me that like Fisto and Jitsu, they just like go together. They're like, for me, they're kind of like the He-Man Skeletor. They feel like the polar opposite enemies. They feel like that works. It makes sense to me. So if I'm going to open Fisto, I'm going to open Jitsu. And if I'm going to open the new Fisto, I need to at least see the original Fisto to get an idea of how I feel about all of it. So today, we're opening all three. They're not getting their own video each separately. I'm just going to go in right now, check all three of them out, and see how I feel about it. That's today. Let's do it. There's a lot to go over. I was pretty sure of this before I even opened it. This is solid. Like, I have no reason to worry about this figure at all. Boots are fine. Shorts, the loincloth is absolutely fine. The face is really good. They do such a good job on faces in this. I love the beard and everything like that. The hair, he's just absolute style, man. The armor is pretty cool. And, of course, his big, whopping hand. I'd sure like to... No, Fisto! Anyways, check that out, man. That's solid. I have no reason to dislike this at all. The hand feels metal. Okay, this part is plastic. I think this little part of the hand right here is like metal. I think it is. If it's not, I don't know what it is, but it's good. Like, Fisto is awesome. I very much expected him to be awesome. I had no reason to believe that he wouldn't be awesome. He comes with the sword. That's his classic sword. He comes with karate chopping hand, and he comes with gripping hand specifically to hold this sword. And they were good enough to make sure that all three hands are for this. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because we have opened up toys in the past where it doesn't make sense. Like where they give you the hand that would have been better for the left or for the right, or like it just doesn't work in general or something like that. Or like where Spider-Man only has like one web-swinging hand, and you wonder why you didn't get a wall-crawling hand for each arm or something like that. We've seen that before. We're not seeing that here. As usual, I'm happy with my Motu. Like, guys, there's no other way for me to put it. I think there is only 2 figures in the entire line of Masterverse that I've bought that I've been disappointed with. That's it. 2. Let's see Jitsu. So here is new Eternia Jitsu. And let's get this out of the way real quick. This is an original design inspired classic concept. And we have to know this is not the Jitsu that we know. Rescued from Point Dread prison by Prince Adam to aid in the search for the Isle of Grayskull, Jitsu, the mysterious man from Gretori, knows more about the legends than anyone in Eternos. Mistrusted as a thief, the master of martial arts shows his true colors, aligning himself with He-Man in the fight to protect Eternia and the universe. This is a good guy Jitsu, which is kind of cool. It means that you two would be working together. I see your grimace, man. Calm it down. Calm down. Listen, man. He can help. He can help, okay? You go back here and look on with a grimace from the back, okay? We're going to check out Jitsu, and you calm down. I wish this hand was like a metal, kind of like where Fisto's hand was like metal. But the plastic works fine, and the vac metal design and everything of it is nice enough that it really shines. One could argue maybe if it would have been a little bit bigger, it would have really caught attention, but as a martial artist, maybe this actually works a lot better for him because he can block and things with it and everything, and it just kind of makes sense. We're going very much for a samurai motif this time, and I dig it. I dig it. I like the side pauldrons here with the samurai-esque belt and everything like that, and the armor inspired by samurais. I like this bug thing on his back. That's actually really cool. I think it's neat. I think it works aesthetically. I think it's really nice, actually. Oh, that's cool too. We got like these mantises, maybe like praying mantises or something like that. Because I see like the side pieces right here. These is this like, yeah, I really wonder if that's like praying mantises or something. The armor is cool. I don't hate the top knot. That's a very traditional idea right here, which is pretty cool. It kind of plays into it. I also like the idea that I kind of like this hand even more if he was, by the storyline that I just read, and I haven't had a chance to read this comic book yet, but by the storyline that I just read, also his boots are a little different. They have the two-toe idea here, but by the storyline that I just read, this is where my mind goes. This is where my imagination takes me, and I've argued this before. Motu is all about an expansive storytelling universe. These are avatars of the imagination. These are barbarian fantasy characters. And looking at him and knowing the small piece of background that I just got, I'm going to tell you this. He went to Point Dread Prison on an alternate Eternia, where he is actually a good guy, but he was mistaken for a thief, right? And the penalty for being said thief, not only did he go to prison to serve his time, they may have cut his hand off. This hand may have been the original hand that drew the sword, because the sword is on this side. And traditionally, he would have to reach over to this side to pull the sword. But that's not the way that he is right now. He's very much got the sword over here where he's going to have to grip it, pull it out, and flip it. And it's going to be a little more confusing to do that. It's going to be tougher to get to his sword than I say it would have been if before he was mistaken for a thief, back when he had his hand, he would have reached across and pulled the sword from the sheath and then taken it out and had the sword. I actually really dig that. I think it adds a level of personality that we haven't seen for a character like this. Also, playing off the samurai angle, they gave him the mask. And we're going to put that on him real quick because I want to see what that looks like. Slides down over his nose and whatnot. And there, the face guard is pretty cool. It works for what it is. It doesn't blow my mind, but it's a cool touch. It's a cool little aesthetic that he didn't have before that really plays up the samurai angle. And now I have that other storyline that's sitting in my head as well, that maybe the reason his hand is like that is because they took his hand because he was a thief. He does come with an expression hand, and he comes with the gripping hand for the sword. The sword being orange, and because it was in the wrapping for as long as it was, it's curved, and I'm going to have to work on that. I'm going to have to heat it up, straighten it out, and kind of hold it in place because I want it to be straight. I don't want it to be curved, or if it is curved, I don't want it curved the way, because it's way too much right now, and I will have to work on that. But that's not a flaw of the figure. I don't necessarily love this, but it's okay. And those are my thoughts on him so far. I actually do think that he's pretty solid. And now, the star of the show, the reason I wanted to do this episode today, new Eternia Fisto. Let's do it. And here is the new Fisto. This is the new Eternia Fisto. And let's get an idea of what's going on here. After his hand was severed by Skeletor, so Barbarian Skeletor took Fisto's hand in this one. Malcolm, which I'm guessing is his original name, bonded with the Mystic Iron Fist. Now, Fisto tracks the nefarious sorcerer across New Eternia in search of revenge. So he's out to get even because he lost his hand due to it being severed, probably his entire arm, by Skeletor. And this is interesting that it says he bonded with the mystic Iron Fist. Does that mean that, because Eternia is like a weird place with a bunch of future tech, is this like basically an amputated, you know, like a prosthetic that's way ahead of its time, that was left behind around where this guy was? He lost his arm, and so he put this thing on, which they consider to be almost like a mystical artifact at this point, because it's, you know, so long that it's forgotten tech at this point. I don't know. I'm very interested in that, actually. So there's not a lot of movement, actually, in the new Fisto arm. Like, as you could see, like, I'm trying to... I mean, it moves for what it's worth, but in terms of, like, he can't see, that part gets in his way, so that's about the most you're going to get out of that. So if he was to hold his arm up or whatever, you know, to, like, showcase the fist, you're not going to get the same kind of movement that you got out of the original one. It's just not going to play out the same way. But he does have a fist, and then he has parts that, like, go on. So this hammer, they're parts. So, like, you could pop that off, and then you can use that as the fist, or so on and so forth, and then you can, of course, pop that onto here. So this, right now, is a cool hammer thing that he can have, but at the same time, if you wanted, you could put that on there, and then the hand could go on here, and so on and so forth. So he's versatile in terms of he carries multiple kinds of weapons for different situations. Maybe the fist helps for certain things, like it kind of keeps people from being too put off when he's sitting at the bar or whatever, you know, in like a Conan the Barbarian setting, and he's got like this fake hand, but then maybe he needs this for certain kinds of fights, and maybe this makes sense for certain kinds of other fights that he might come across. And of course, he did come with the hand to be able to hold said hammer. He also comes with a different head. So right now, we have an older warrior that we're looking at here, and he, you know, he's got the graying beard, he's got its long hair, he's got the ponytail and everything, he's got this battle armor right here, all of it's really cool, and he just kind of looks like an older tested warrior. But you can pop that head off, and you can go for a more traditional Fisto look, if I can get his head on there. You can go for a more traditional, younger Fisto look right here, which also has its own charm, actually. But I really do like this, and I think that it sets it apart from his original design in a way that really makes it stand out. I don't hate this by any means, but I think I like this head a lot. So for me, we're going to be keeping that head. I think that is just the superior look for him. Mine feels loose. Not that it's a bad thing, but it feels a little loose. Like I'm noticing his legs like move like almost too easily, if you want the truth of it. He feels a little loose. That bothers me a little bit, but I don't think it's something that like I can't deal with. I think that he'll be just fine, in all honesty. Because he's not so loose that he's like falling over. I'm just noticing that like when I move him around, he moves a little too easily, personally. I like the armor. It's still very much the kind of armor that he was wearing back there, but very much updated. His sword is thinner. I don't know if there's a reason for that, maybe storyline-wise or something like that, or just like a reimagining in general, but I like that we have included something on his back that actually makes sense for where the sword should go. I love stuff like this. When you, oh, I don't like that. Okay, so already we have just discovered a problem. The paint on the sword comes off the first time I sheathed it. And some people could say, oh, well, you should have been careful about that. It was pretty rough. No, that is a paint flaw. That is a screw up in the design. In the design, if you knew this should have been silvery plastic. This should have been a silvery plastic if you knew that you were going to have something like this for where the sword was going to go. And if you knew that that was what you were going to do, well, then there should have been no reason at all that you ever would have put the, that kind of paint. That's a screw up. And that's the second time we've seen that. Too Bad actually had a problem like that where the paint on his weapon also chipped off. But that all being said, it doesn't really bother me all that bad that his sword seems worn now. I'll live with it. It's not going to bother me to the point where it's going to like cause me to be like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm actually fine with it, but it is something that I will point out, and it is something that I'm showing you right then and here, right here and now. You could see that was a problem. That should have never been like that. And if they were designing it this way, then they should have known that the sword should have just automatically been the correct plastic, and then you would have never had to have dealt with that in the first place. Had it been a silvery plastic, and they just would have painted this part blue, which actually would have been less paint, so I'm not sure what the problem is, or even just this part blue, kind of like how this part is blue, and the blue is not chipping away when I hold it in the hand, so because the blue isn't chipping off here, I doubt the blue would have chipped off here, and they would have saved themselves the only low mark of these three figures, because personally, I like all of this. I like all three of these figures. I think they're very, very good, and I think for what it's worth, the only bad marks that I can give it right now is they should have looked about that sword, and I'm not sure I'm loving this mask, even though I understand where they were going with it. And that is Fisto, and Jitsu, all added to the shelf, all one solid open, and you know, I'm happy with these. Like I said, there are things I could complain about, but nothing that I would complain to the extent that would actually cause anything or mean anything. These are solid. These are good, solid figures, all three of them. They pass my test as far as I'm concerned. And once again, I gotta give it to Masterverse. I bought Fisto twice. It never felt like a rebuy. And I don't have that opinion where I've seen where people like open one of these and go, yeah, the new Fisto is so much better or whatever. I dislike the other Fisto or blah, blah, blah. I think they both have solid merit. I think they both feel like their own figure. Just like so far, I got to hand it to them every time I buy a Skeletor. I've yet to buy a Skeletor that doesn't feel at least repainted enough that it doesn't have its own feel. You know what I'm saying? I think that's important. I think that once we get to egregious repaints, we have a problem in the line. But as of yet, I have not bought anything that just feels like an absolute egregious repaint. I have not reached that point yet. Everything I buy feels like it works. That's a different version of Fisto and a different version of Fisto, and having them both just feels like I have two really solid figures, not two of the same. I don't have blue He-Man, solid black He-Man, regular He-Man, kind of tan He-Man. I'm not coming across that problem. Everybody feels like they work, just like every He-Man feels like a new and different He-Man in terms of the Masterverse shelf. There is a real reason that I have kind of walked back my interest in Origins and focused so much interest on this. Because to me, that's where it's at. That just works for me. I really, really like the Masterverse figures. It is absolutely where I make my home when it comes to Motu. And there's a lot more of it to open. Like a lot more of it. Not sure what the next video is, I know it will not be a Motu video, more than likely. But, we'll see. We'll see where the next item takes me. I don't know what the next open is going to be. The next video could easily be a topic video. I've been doing a lot of those lately. Anyways, it's enough for me. 3 Motu added to the shelf in 1 video. Good conversation. I think we broke down and talked about these guys pretty good. And I think I'm ready to go. Thank you. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.